So the pay gap is a huge problem in this country and around the world. The good news is that at this point in the cultural conversation, most people are aware that there is a pay gap, and most people are aware that it's bad. But what's the true extent of the damage that the pay gap does, and does it disproportionately affect some women over others?
Yes, it does. And take, for example, in my case, I'm a white female, and it takes me 12 months and around till April each year to earn what the white males earned last year. If you're African American, it takes you until August. If you're Hispanic, it takes you to November. In other words, they have to work almost 2 years to get equal pay what the men made the year before. But it's a long reach thing, because once I finally learned how much less I made with a whistleblower giving me a note and a warning, and I realized that I was making 40% less than the men. And that not only affected my pay, my take-home pay, it was my overtime, my time and a half, double and triple. And then I thought, this is about my retirement. It's based on what I'm earning. It was about my contributory retirement and my 401k, and then today, my Social Security, all is affected by what I was earning. And I had to file a charge. I just could not let it go. I just simply could not. That was not who I was, and it was not the law. There had been a law signed on equal pay in 1963. So I had to file a charge, and it ended up in court, federal court, and the jury awarded me $3.8 million. But the Supreme Court changed the law and took it all back. So it was critical and Justice Ginsburg challenged Congress to change the law back. And that was what was needed, because otherwise the young women today would never have the opportunity to stand up for their equal pay had it not got changed.
Yes. Did it occur to you when you were first filing that you weren't just fighting for yourself, but that you were fighting for every single woman in this country?
Yes, it did to some extent, but not as great as it did when the verdict came out from the Supreme Court in May of '07. And I'll give you a timeline. I filed a charge in '98. Federal trial was 2003. And then we got to Supreme Court in November of 2006. And the verdict did not come from the Supreme Court until May of '07. That was when the lawyer said, don't worry about the media, we'll handle it. But I thought about it, and I had had a good case. The law was on my side. I had good attorneys, and they had won the case. I had nothing to be embarrassed, and it was no longer at that moment about Lilly Ledbetter and my family, but it was about all of the people today. Because this affects everybody across this country, as well as men. When you talk about equal pay, it's a family affair.
That was, if you'll allow me, that was a very long fight that you had to fight. And I think one of the issues for women in this room and women around the country, there is a fear of speaking up, that in the process of fighting for yourself, you can actually put yourself at risk of getting fired, of not being able to get what you deserve. Was that an issue for you?
Yes, I had some issues while I kept trying to work. But the retaliation was just really so great. It was almost impossible. And then a lot of people, the men especially, would say, well, why did I take that man's job? It was not a man's job, it was just a job, and it was one that I was qualified for and good at. And I worked there for 19 years and 10 months, left on my own. So it wasn't I was a poor performer, like my employer said. And two, I work in Alabama Southern, you can tell this accent I have, but a little Southern drawl. But as an at-will state, and all they had to do was tell me go home. I wouldn't have any repercussion back about keeping my job.
Wow.